Welcome all to another episode of the C64 Roundup, your concise guide to the latest news and releases for your Commodore 64. We've got some interesting news items for you this month, so let's get on with it. Siegfried Kroes is currently working on a split-screen multiplayer adventure game called Stranded Cats. And as you can see from the screen footage, the game is visually strong, giving off a graphical aesthetic that you would expect from a 16-bit console rather than a Commodore 64. The premise of the game is that your ship has crash-landed on an island. In order to repair it, you'll need to go out and explore the landscape and locate boxes that might contain the materials you need to repair your ship. As you go around, you'll find monsters to defeat or avoid. Either player can only carry up to 5 repair items at a time, so you'll need to walk back to your ship to drop them off, and while at the same time healing all wounds you might have. If one player loses all their health, the other player can walk up to them to heal them. Siegfried will be looking to add more features to the game as development progresses, including a single player mode for those of us who have no cool friends that still enjoy C64 gaming. What currently exists is a real solid framework for a strong game. The main challenge for Siegfried moving forward is to add elements that will make the game engaging to play in both 1 and 2 player co-op modes. We look forward to seeing further updates on Stranded Cats in due course, but for those looking to find out a little more, you can join Siegfried's Patreon page. Icon 64 is putting the finishing touches on their platform puzzle game titled Rocky & Co. Inspired by the Goonies game, with a little bit of Rick Dangerous sprinkled in, Rocky & Co will see you take control of 3 different characters as you use a combination of each character's skill set to advance through each stage, until you find the fabled treasure item, the Golden Condor. The game stages will involve switches to pull or stand on, enemies and hazards to avoid, and a whole lot of making your move at just the right time. The production values on Rocky & Co are at a high level, with game graphics popping from the screen and the in-game music tunes hitting the mark. Having already played through the game on multiple occasions, I think most of you are really going to enjoy Rocky & Co. Hopefully you'll all get a chance to play the game before the year end, as Rocky & Co is in its final phases of testing. Soren Trotner Madsen has provided an update to what is now titled Awesome Slam Sibs Infinite, a clone and reimagining of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Commodore 64. Soren has teamed up with the guys from the demo group Bonsai in order to advance the project further. While Soren works on refining the AI for single player mode, the Bonsai guys are busy coding the character selection framework and level loading, and also helping out with some graphics. The current plan is to add a number of non-Nintendo characters that might have a resemblance to characters of some of your favourite C64 games, such as Turrican and Ghost and Goblins. There will be a handful of distinct levels to play on, and a single player mode as well as a multiplayer mode. Playing through the latest demo of the game, Awesome Slam Sibs Infinite is now starting to feel like a proper game. While the enemy AI needs to be made more sophisticated for a more engaging experience, the potential for this to be a solid fighter game is definitely there. The game still has a long way to go before it reaches what Soren would consider to be commercial grade, but it's looking more likely that this project will see its way through to completion. Tony Born for Adventure is an adventure platform game being developed for a number of old microcomputers, including the Commodore 64. Best described as a modern-day remake of Montezuma's Revenge, the game is also a tribute to Polish explorer and filmmaker Tony Halik. Tony will immediately stand out with its detailed monochrome-style graphics, and it's easy to pick up action play. Expected to contain 5 levels upon its completion, RGN has played through a demo of the first stage where the main things to do are to collect potions that allow you to hit enemies without losing a life, locate keys to unlock doors, and collect little glowing masks that give you points. Tony Born for Adventure is designed by Rafał Dudek, with the C64 graphics being done by Rafał as well, while the coding duties are being looked after by Maciej Malecki. I would expect Tony to be completed in the first half of 2024. time to check out some of the new game releases. Pour Noir is a side-scrolling platform-style game graphically represented within a grayscale colour scheme. Set in a 1930s noir-type setting, you run a detective agency when a mysterious customer comes in late one day. Apparently some sneaky mice have gone ahead and stolen the lady's golden yarn ball collection and hidden them all across the city. As you're always up for a challenge, you accept the job. The game starts off in a standard fashion, where you navigate through easy hazards and get to the end of the level. But it's not until the second level where the game starts to show its point of differentiation. You see, our cat has 9 lives, and you're going to have to sacrifice some of them in order to complete some of the levels. When your character dies, his carcass remains in the game world for you to use after you respawn. This is a very clever twist to the game genre. Unfortunately, the rest of the game design is a bit of a letdown. The game enemies are static and only shoot in a left or right direction, and the level layouts themselves do feel repetitive. So Pour Noir can be best described as having good stylistic graphics and nice chilling music, but when it comes to gameplay, it's a one-trick pony, I'm afraid, and many of you will get bored before you reach the final 19th level within the game. Pour Noir has only been released as part of the cover mount to issue 15 of Zap 64 Micro Magazine. Pst is a 40-year-old game by Ultimate Play the Game that has finally received a Commodore 64 conversion by Booney. The objective of the game is to guide Robbie the robot around to spray the bugs in order to protect the Thorogodian Mega Chrysanthemum, which means pretty flower to the rest of us plebs. There are multiple sprays available to use, and you need to select the correct one for the type of bug you want to kill. The cyan spray will kill worms or stun wasps. The red can will kill fuzzy bugs or stun worms, while the yellow one will kill wasps or stun the fuzzy bugs. To break up the action, from time to time you will need to put down the spray cans in order to pick up a watering can or fertilizer. If your flower grows to the full height, it then blooms and you have completed the level. Within the confines of its limited game design, Pst is a well-executed arcade game. It's a nice tribute, but the reality is that not many are really going to remember the game a few months from now. And in fact, I would suggest that the online discussion around crackers having to crack a game that already contains a built-in trainer has detracted from the game's initial release. Pst is available as a free digital download, and while the game was not originally NTSC compatible, the cracking scene in this instance shows its worth by producing a version that makes the game both PAL and NTSC compatible. Lances Priya is a first-person rail shooter minigame that is inspired by the Star Wars arcade game by Atari. The game contains 3 different levels, starting off with the dogfights with TIE fighters. Before moving on to have to deal with the laser turrets on tower rises. The third phase of the game is where you have to navigate the trenches of the Death Star. Lances Priya is quite well done. The controls feel good and the speed of the game is not bad for the C64. However, the fact that it's only a minigame will mean that you are only likely to sit down with the game for one single play session. Lances Priya is available as a free digital download. Fizz is a gravity-based platform game that is sure to challenge all fans of the genre. As the game loads up, you'll initially be underwhelmed with its rudimentary graphics and choppy animation. But as you play through the early levels of the game, you start to realise that Fizz offers a unique twist to the puzzle game genre. Your character Fizz has the power to switch gravity in all 4 different directions, and that the game world wraps around so that if you go out to the left, for example, you appear from the right, and if you drop down from the bottom, you will appear from the top, depending on how the gravity is set. It is up to you to use this game logic to your advantage in order to get around laser obstacles so that you can reach the exit. The first 6 or so levels are designed to get you used to all the various elements of the game, like shooting a laser beam in order to use a transporter, activating and deactivating switches, and setting up portals in the right spots so you can access blocked off areas. The game is very challenging beyond the initial tutorial levels, but I found them very engaging. Thankfully there is no timer, so you can sit back and think about your moves beforehand. And if you make a mistake, no big deal. Hit the delete key to retry as much as you want, as there's no limit to the number of times you can retry a level. Figuring out a level does feel very rewarding, and as a result there is a continual push to continue the game to the very end. Fizz offers 40 single-player levels and 30 co-op multiplayer levels. The co-op mode can be played by either single player or 2 players. When trying out the single player co-op mode, I found it even trickier to complete the levels, as thinking about 2 characters does add another layer of complexity to the puzzles. Fizz is a must-play game for fans of puzzle games. It is available as a free digital download from itch.io. When I first heard that Bill and Ted's Excellent Game Boy Adventure had received a C64 conversion, I thought, why bother if it doesn't look like a Commodore 64 game? But after I sat down and completed my first play session of the game, all I could kind of say was, excellent. Bill and Ted is a platform game with Rick Dangerous style puzzle elements thrown in. The evil tyrant, Chuck Dinomalus, is out to alter history once again by stealing special time fragment orbs and scattering them across different timelines. Bill and Ted need to travel across these different time periods to retrieve them all. So your job is to go around each level, jumping platforms, climbing ladders and ropes, and avoiding a whole lot of enemies and hazards to collect every orb. The C64 version of the game is quite well presented, with the inclusion of the Game Boy bezel. This version of the game does include a number of variations, including vertical scrolling, to ensure that the full screen size gaming could be retained. The game's jumping mechanics have been enhanced to make the game more accessible, and the 10 different timelines can be played in any order. I really appreciate these types of modifications, as it shows that the developer wants the player to enjoy and experience the game as much as possible, rather than lumping them with outdated 1980s game design mechanics. As for the game itself, simple to pick up and play, and a whole lot of fun. It's not a straight platform game. You will find that on many levels, the orbs need to be collected in a specific order, as the game world environment and location of orbs will be altered as you activate various trigger spots. So you'll find yourself replaying the levels often as you learn the movement pattern that will eventually result in success. Bill and Ted's Excellent Game Boy Adventure is available as a free digital download, but note that it's only PAL compatible. And that is a wrap on another edition of the C64 Roundup. Hope you found some of the content of interest to you. Links to all the games and graphics art available to download can be found in the video description. Until next time, bye for now.